Hey everyone, it's me Arthur Kade and welcome back to Behind the Velvet Rope. From the 1970s New York City music scene to surviving on a planet 127 million miles away to living as a pirate on the high seas, this episode gives you a little bit of everything. We'll be speaking with the cast of HBO's Vinyl, Starz' Black Sails, ABC's Madoff, and much more, so get ready for a great time behind the Velvet Rope. Executive produced by Martin Scorsese, Mick Jagger, and Terrence Winter, HBO's Vinyl is an inside look at the music business in 1970s New York City. Talk to me about how this show came about and putting this era of rock on screen.
So it started, I had an idea that I wanted to do a movie about the music business, not about so much about artists. The artists would be in it, but I wanted to do a movie about how crazy the business was and how crooked it was and how weird it was, because no one had ever done that before. So I started this idea and we wrote some scripts with it, and then Marty and I developed it. I went to Marty, thought it was a good idea, so Marty and I developed it, and over the years it became a TV show.
Richie's quite a character, a conflicted character, dealing with, hey, I want to be a good guy, but at the same time there's that party animal side of him. Talk to me about bringing that conflict to life.
Well, you know, I think at the very heart of what he really is an artist, and it's exciting. You know, there's not a lot of opportunities really to see that in a television show or even in a movie, to see an artist portrayed. And even though he runs a label, he's also a businessman. He's cutthroat. He's an addict. He's a lot of things, but at heart, he's an artist. And what means the most to him is the music. And so that's what's really fun, is playing that kind of conflict. This guy holding on to this label, his legacy, his artistry above everything else, and how hard that is in 1973.
I love Dev, and seeing, especially in the one scene where the party at the house, and she's confronted by the past and her party animal side, and you see those eyes twinkle.
She wants in.
She wants back in.
Yeah.
What's it like portraying that conflict as a character, the good and the bad?
It's interesting. I like playing people who have to bury a lot of what they're thinking and feeling, because, you know, then that comes through in interesting ways. So it's good that it's a series, because Devin has a lot of evolving to do, and I look forward to people witnessing it.
Talk to me about being able to flex both your drama chops and your comedy chops.
Well, I did comedy for a long time, and I still do it. I still do stand-up and all that. So this is the direction I wanted to go, but I love anything that mixes the two. And this, believe it or not, this show does. It's a drama, no doubt about it. But there's a comedic little tone in there also. So it's the best of both worlds. You know, I don't know, it's the role of a lifetime for me to work with these guys. So I just keep having to pinch myself that I'm in it.
One of the things I love is she looks at this opportunity, and even though it's essentially a sinking ship, she sees her ability to rise upon that.
Well, I think she has the sort of reaction in the sense that it's not that everyone was going, oh my god, I love this so much, this is so brilliant. It's actually that there's a real reaction. There's a visceral reaction in the audience when the Nasty Bits plays, which is anger, it's frustration, it's like, oh my god, it's like this explosive fight that happens, you know? And I think in that moment she realizes, oh my god, these guys have something to say. This could be amazing, because there's definitely an emptiness for people as audience members being made to really feel something like that.
Your one-liners in this show are
thank you, sir.
Out of control, man.
Oh my God.
Trying to get credit every single time you
he's a snivelly little weasel, isn't he? Definitely.
You get to work with the best in the business as a young actor.
Best in the business. I mean, they're all here right now. No, I mean, as a young actor, it's insane because you just get to. I'm the youngest person in the main cast, so I have the pleasure of just observing all of these veterans do what they do best, and just to get to absorb all of this. I get to witness everybody do their craft the way that it's supposed to be done. It was insane. It was sensational.
And this show is so much raucous fun. Yeah. How does it come together with you, Mick, and Martin? It's got to be just, I can't even imagine those meetings of let's make a show about punk rock, drugs, sex, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
I got a call in 2007 from Martin Scorsese who said, listen, I'm working on this project set in the world of rock and roll with Mick Jagger. You think you want to be involved? Or I was like, yeah, I think I do, actually. I was like, wow, oh my God. So yeah, it started then. It started as a movie project. Took a couple of years for us to realize, you know what? I think this will work better on TV. We got a much bigger, sprawling canvas to tell this story, which it really needs. So we decided, all right, let's set it in the 70s. We picked 1973 specifically because that was the year that punk, disco, and hip hop were all invented within about a 5-month period of each other. It's a fascinating time in the music business. You see the dawn of all these genres happening in New York, which was just an insane asylum at the time, and we're off to the races.
Golden Globe winner The Martian is a story about a stranded astronaut's survival and rescue from Mars. We spoke to the cast at the New York Film Festival premiere. What was it like working with the master Ridley Scott?
Working with Ridley's a dream come true. I mean, I've admired him and his movies for such a long time, so it was amazing. And it's very clear once you're on a set of his, it's very obvious why people love working with him and want to work with him, because he just is so confident and has so much passion and energy.
When you look at the way he makes his movies, there's such an authenticity to this. Obviously, it's sci-fi, but there's such an authenticity. How does he make it so authentic?
Well, I think his movies always deal with character, first of all, and it gets the audience to really invest into the characters, and you really root for them, and that's a very important thing, no matter how big the scope of the movie it is that you're making. And then the other thing is that he, everything in it, like I said, is like as little CGI as possible for a sci-fi movie.
When you get to work with a cast like this, talk to me about it.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, a lot of the cast I didn't get to work with, essentially, because Matt was on Mars and Jessica's up in space. But the people that I did, Jeff Daniels, Benedict Wong, who's an old friend of mine from Dirty Pretty Things, which I did with Stephen Frears, and everybody from that side of the movie, from the kind of NASA side of the movie, Mackenzie Davis, who's here, and it was great. I mean, great fun, and Kristen Wiig, of course, so I had a blast. Like some of my favorite actors are in this movie.
This is such a change of pace for you, as someone who's built such an incredible career with comedy, to get into something sci-fi like this with this guy.
God, yeah.
Talk to me about it.
I mean, everyone would love to be in a movie like this, I would think. I mean, it's got, it's Matt Damon, he's in space, it's got amazing special effects, beautiful music, and the cast is incredible. It's, again, Ridley Scott. It's a dream.
What makes his movies so authentic? It's so great.
I think the combination of a very big artistic imagination and a very, very specific attention to detail. So on set, all of our sets were so specific, and so we were able to interact with them. Nothing was fake. Everything was built for the actor to really use, and on top of that, he's shooting a movie on Mars, which is impossible and very far away. And I think that combination of very real reality and distant fantasy makes his movies very special and very grounded.
The 33 is a true story that shows the resilience of the human spirit as a group of Chilean miners is trapped underground, unsure of their fate. Super Mario, what a character.
Yeah.
It's funny because obviously we lived this whole event. I remember watching it on the news. But to humanize these people and to understand who Super Mario was pretty cool. Talk to me about bringing him to life and bringing him to the world.
Well, first of all, you have to know that you have a specific time in the movie. It's the story of 33. And so, when I talked to him and I got to meet with him, the guy is so rich, he's so explosive is the word that may define him very well. And immediately I understood, oh my God, it's not gonna be possible to bring everything that this guy is giving me into the character. So it was kind of frustrating in a way, because he's, as I said to you, he deserves not a movie, a TV show, just with him, But so that's one side. But then what I tried is just to actually take from him, the juice of what was his whole entire, the map of his story down there, emotionally, fundamentally, how he was a hero and he went to be a villain, and then he has to be humble and ask for apologies and be part of the group again. How he was, capable with his faith to drive everybody else behind his back against all the odds and believe that they're going to get out of there. And how that, in a very strange way, is parallel to other faiths that are happening out there, from wives, from sisters, from politicians who decide to be human beings suddenly and keep going against all the odds, with all the technicians says this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. So, all of those things, that concoction, together, this kind of thing is what interests me about the movie. Not only just the personality of Mario, but the whole entire story.
With Don Lucio, he's a reluctant leader, and obviously, in many ways, he ends up deferring to Super Mario. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that balance in terms of bringing that character, because he is highly intelligent, but at the same time, he's at times afraid to be able to really use that intelligence and show courage.
In meeting the real Don Lucio, I was incredibly impressed with this man's quiet dignity, with his reserve, and it's not something that a Hollywood writer would have created. They would have created a foil, this antagonist to Mario Sepulveda's hero, and that just wasn't the reality. We have a man who is the boss, but at the same time is not confrontational about it. He would not let himself be drawn into this petty fight over the survival, and in a weird way, that allowed the stronger personality of Mario Sepulveda to take over, to be the cheerleader, to be the one who was filled with blind optimism and faith. Whereas I don't think that Lucio ever lost his faith. I don't think he ever lost hope, but he was very, very aware of the realities. He was a pragmatist, a realist, and without bringing everybody down, there were times when that desperation, that doubt could only manifest itself in the anxiety that he knew that all of them were feeling.
I didn't know your character's part in the story because he's a man who made it all happen, essentially. Tell me about telling that part of the story, because it's really the crux of what's happening above.
Yeah, I think that's what's new and fresh to a billion people all over the world that follow this story. We all saw, the media did a lot of coverage, and a lot of people followed, this story until they rescued that. But what's in this film, it's what you have not seen in terms of what exactly happened between the people involved, the relationships between them, what actually happened down there until they were found. It was based on the interviews that were done with the miners, and their families and the rescuers and everybody involved. So it's very personal in that way. This character that I played, the Minister of Mining, he is based on a real character that I actually had the opportunity to meet for a little bit. And it's essentially a politician that goes to try to solve the problem, try to come up with a solution for representing the government. And once he gets there, he finds the families, and he understands the state they are, their desperation, their pain, and he starts to relate to it. And then he starts to change, and there's a transformation in this man that goes, throughout the whole process, managing and getting pressure from every single angle, from the media, from the government, from the families, from the miners, and he's in the middle of it, just trying to, stay calm and try to resolve the situation. That was the goal.
Experimenter focuses on Stanley Milgram's controversial obedience testing in the 1960s. We talked to the cast at the New York Film Festival. What drew you to this movie? Because this guy's story, fascinating, and there's a really important social message behind it.
Yeah, part of it was the social message of having the courage to speak up, and even if authority figures and the rest of the people around you are saying something else, if your own personal sense of right, wrong is being violated, that it is your duty to speak up. if what your senses are telling you is that this situation is wrong, you have to speak up. You know, in terms of playing the role, Michael sort of laid it on me slowly over the years. He kept sending me information, and this was a process that went on for a long time. And when the movie finally came around to being made, I had met Sasha several times. I had read books. I'd seen the tapes. I felt more prepared than I've ever felt for any role in my life.
What specifically drew you to telling this story?
Well, I've always been fascinated with Stanley Milgram, actually. I learned about him when I was about 13 from the Peter Gabriel album. So there's a song called, I think it's called Milgram 47, and we do what we're told. And I remember asking my parents what it meant, and they told me about it. And my godfather they just missed each other, and I think they met a few times. So I was just very fascinated with that. Obviously, I'm a little bit of a World War II sort of history buff. My mom's dad died in the Battle of Guadalcanal. My dad's family lost a lot of family in the concentration camps. So the whole just following orders thing really, that just normal seeming people could do these awful things, and which is why Milgram, did the experiments, was really, it felt kind of oddly personal.
Talk to me about just telling the story.
Well, I just have a small piece in this movie, but I think it's important to kind of what this movie informs us and what these studies inform us is that human beings are a horrible creature.
It is true.
Right?
They're not funny.
Well, it's an awareness, right? I think, and it's not just about this study or about America or a time period. It's like, look, we're animals, and we have to be aware of what we're capable of.
I loved it. I love the idea of what he wanted to explore in why do people do what they do? Why do people do horrific things? So I think it's nice that Michael's taking something that was, worked on in the 60s, 70s, and actually seeing how relevant it is to now.
Isn't it incredible to see how relevant it is to now? It's crazy.
Yeah, well, they say there's only 30 plots in the world, so this is, we keep repeating ourselves as humans, so we have to keep, relearning things that we need to think about, is how we can all get along.
Black Sails returns to the high seas for Season 3 on Starz and introduces Blackbeard to its mix of eclectic characters. We spoke to Ray Stevenson and Zach McGowan. Ray Stevenson, I was just telling you, I loved you as Titus on Rome, and you're showing me this ring, and I'm like...
13th Legion.
I'm so jealous.
It hangs with me. I mean, it's stayed with me. In fact, what it's led to is that all the characters I now play, because obviously I can't keep this on, I've now got a collection of rings for this index finger from all my different shows. And indeed, I've got a Blackbeard one now.
That's so cool.
So delighted.
Speaking of Blackbeard, how cool is that? I mean, first of all, this Black Sails show,
yeah.
It is like a movie. I mean, it is. That's why it wins Emmys for this stuff. Yeah. And you get to play one of the most iconic characters in pirate history. Talk to me about being Blackbeard.
Being Blackbeard, wow, it's a gift of a part, but it's a minefield as well, because you don't want to sort of fall down the obvious traps and stuff like this, and the show is very much not about making things too cod piratey, and yet you've got this iconic, legendary pirate who comes in. So the whole part of there's so much research available and all this, and so you do all that, but you try and grab the essence of what he is and bring it into the Black Sails sort of world. And he's been away, so he's coming in Series 3, and he's kind of separate from the group by nature of who he is and his history, but he's not detached. Do you know what I mean? Because he was actually one of the founders with Hornigold and all that, and Avery, one of the founders of Nassau, one of the co-authors of the Pirate Charter, the original Pirate Charter. So you're coming in, and you're going to upset the apple cart, right? You're like this. The old school is come back in, and it's gonna blow it all apart. So very exciting to come in and also seeing this beautiful established family going through their own turmoils, and you come in and boom, blow it all apart. And so that's been a thrill. That's been just tremendous.
Season 3, it feels like the first 2 seasons have been leading up to this conflict. It feels like there's going to be a lot of conflict. Am I right? Is season 3 going to be pretty much all-out war at this point?
Well, yeah. I think we've been all waiting for like England to arrive and try to reclaim their island, and obviously, we're sitting on all this Spanish gold, and so we've pissed off the imperial powers of the world from this little tiny island in the Bahamas. So yes, look for the conflict to finally make it to our shores. And I remember there was the first day that I was on set, and there was a bunch of redcoats walking around on set, and I was like, oh my God.
This is so cool.
The redcoats are here.
Do you ever find yourself, like, I would find myself feeling like a little kid in that environment. Do you ever forget, hey, I'm a professional actor, and this is, like, surreal? I feel like I'm on Treasure Island right now.
Constantly. I think it's the overwhelming experience for everyone who works on the show is that sometimes you're just like, I'm in a playground and I'm playing and we're doing a sword fight, But to maintain the seriousness of it, I think if they shot a show that was about what happened, off camera, like between takes, it would be a comedy, it would be a musical, it would be a bunch of actors being hams and hamming it up for everything. But between action and cut, everyone just brings it and knows that it's not, it's not just an adventure show. It's a dark drama, and so like we all try to harness that at least for the amount of time that we can, and then like go back to like, oh my God, did you see the ship and the explosion? I was just running through the thing. Oh my God,
Were you a fan of the period? Like, I remember reading Treasure Island, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I wish I could transport myself back. Were you a fan of the period before becoming part of the show?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been fascinated by pirates, and I think I think anyone that like lives outside of the norms of the cultures who puts their middle finger up to authority, you just kind of have this. You're like, oh, I wish I could do that, and certainly when I read Treasure Island as a child, the same thing. So I think was I a fan of it? Yeah. And did I ever think I was going to do something like this? I hoped so, but I never actually knew I would. So it's great to be a part of more than anything.
ABC's Madoff tells the true story of the orchestration of history's most notorious Ponzi scheme and the rise and fall of financial mastermind Bernie Madoff. When you get into this guy's story, I mean, the most infamous criminal, arguably, of our lifetime, at least financially, what was it like playing him?
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. That's the answer. I had fun playing Cheney, and I had fun playing Bernie Madoff, because I'm an actor, and I get to find really venal, dark, weird places in me, bring them out, and there you are, Bernie Madoff. And that's the fun part of being an actor.
But he wasn't an evil guy when you met him. He was just another guy. He had his good and his bad. Is there a way to still show that conflict, the good and the bad of Bernie Madoff?
No. He was all bad. And he just performed good. And he performed it brilliantly. But the fact is, he was without any empathy towards the people he scammed, and he scammed bat mitzvah girls with as much enthusiasm as he scammed institutions. And there is no side of him that can be forgivable. It was all a performance to cover the fact that he wanted $50 billion for his wardrobe. He didn't give it to anyone else. He used it all by himself.
Telling Ruth's story, Bernie and Ruth's story. I mean, we're talking about one of the most infamous criminal cases of all time, at least of our lifetimes. When you got into this as an actress, what was it like?
Well, I had the great opportunity to meet Ruth, which really did help a lot. I think when I went into it, I was very much on the fence as to whether she knew or whether she didn't know. Having met her, I was convinced that she didn't know. And I think the more we researched and delved into it, when you're married to a sociopath and you've been living with him, known him since you're 16, and in love with him, and a man who was very seductive to a lot of people, which is how he was so successful. The people that I met that knew him said he was incredibly down to earth and charming. You never would have dreamed that he would be
Bernie Madoff.
able to do such a thing.
Who is Gregory Perkins, and What does he play in Madoff?
He's a composite of a bunch of financiers who, in order to cut the script down, and also because that's what I've been told to say, and but it is partly that. I mean, there are only so many people you could bring. You can only have so many people showing up at the table, going, "Here's another person." But he's pivotal. My character is pivotal in the fact that he delivers Elie Wiesel, who is kind of a face of the Holocaust and has this foundation, and delivers him and his money to Madoff.
Rupert Evans stars in The Boy, a horror film about a doll that may or may not be alive. We spoke with him at a New York special screening. I was going to say the star of The Boy, Rupert Evans, but the real star of this movie is the creepiest doll since Chucky from Child's Play.
You're right. The star is Brahms, the doll, the porcelain doll. Yeah, definitely.
This is such a unique horror movie. It's creepy, and especially that doll's creepy. Talk to me about what drew you to this project and telling this story.
Well, I love the story. The director, Brendan, has done some great horror movies, and I was a huge fan of him. And when I read it, I loved the characters, and I just thought, and it has a huge twist at the end of it, which I didn't see coming, and it took me down different avenues. It's a crazy story about this, this couple who have a son, and they get a nanny in to help with their son, but the son turns out to be a doll, and it takes on a personality of its own, and things and creepy stuff starts to happen, and the world in this house, things kind of get turned upside down. For myself, the character I play is Malcolm, who's this local guy who kind of helps out with odd jobs and is a grocery guy, and kind of they start to have a relationship, both my character and Greta, who played by Lauren Cohen, and it's about our adventure with this doll and in trying to work out what the truth is. So it's a really, really good, I think, horror movie with a bit of thriller and suspense thrown in as well.
There's also the underlying theme, which is it's hard to let go, because we see this couple that has trouble letting go after their son passes away, right?
Yeah, I mean, at first you dismiss the couple and think they're a bit kooky and a bit odd and a bit delusional. I felt really sorry for them, but then when they leave and we started, Lauren started looking after the doll, and the doll starts moving, things start happening. You start looking, and we start wondering what's happened in the past about this son, and things develop, and you find out the real truth. So it's a real suspense and thriller with a great twist at the end, and I hope the audience enjoy it.
Well, that's a wrap on another fun episode. Make sure to join us again behind the velvet rope.